Do you need a quilt in a jiffy? Well, we have 8 great options for you. Hi, it's Fran Morgan and Donna Robertson with Fabric Café. We had a special request from a viewer, Donna S., and she wanted to see all the quilts from Quilts in the Jiffy remade. Well, it took just a little while for us to make those, but they're ready now. So let's see the first one. Now, this quilt pattern is called Big Blooms, and this is a fun quilt that makes flowers. And I did that as a stylized flower because I thought it would be so cool to also have a floral type print then put into the flower. And another thing about this, it's got 2 very simple blocks. There's actually a hidden 4 patch in this. You can see it right here. So that's a super simple block. Let's talk about the gorgeous fabric that we have for this quilt. You know, Fran, the design process is so much fun. You get these little ideas in your head and you start playing around and you try to manipulate it into what you want. And I had fun making this little bloom. It's kind of a different little block than what we normally make. So let me show you how it works. So in this particular one, here is your whole block. So let me show you the block. And you can probably already see that it's super simple. And we're going to use some strip piecing like we always do. And the very first piece is right here. Okay. So you can see that these are just 3 pieces that are sewn together, and then you cut your units from that. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to add a piece to the side of the unit. Okay. And then you add a second piece. Now that is super, super simple.
It really is.
Now to finish out your bloom, you're going to go down here and we have yet another strip piece. So we've sewn 3 strips together and then we cut it into units. We put one on this side of that previous step. And then we put another one up here, and all we do is rotate it.
Simple.
So super, super simple. Yes. And then who hasn't made a 4 patch? That's usually like a beginner block, but it is also a foundation block. And you know, a lot of times these foundation blocks are repeated over and over in a quilt just to give them what they need to kind of anchor them.
Yes, and it actually connects with the main block so that it gives a really interesting pattern.
Yes, absolutely. And I like the way it creates this little piece down here too. So it really is an interesting quilt that is made super simply, and hence the name Quilts in a Jiffy. So let's look at the fabric. So this particular fabric, and I do love Batiks.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And this purple is to die for.
It is gorgeous. And that was part of my original concept in making this, is that you could use a floral in that flower so that you get all those different colors. I love a really colorful garden. So this particular fabric is our number 1. It's going to go everywhere that you see the piecing for the flower. This is the number 2, and all 3 of these are Batiks. And this is kind of a mottled gray, and you can see how good it works as your background. It's almost like a real light summery sky.
Yes.
So that's going to be your number 2. And then number 3, this beautiful jade, kind of a watercolor. Wow. Isn't that pretty?
It is so pretty.
and it also picks up the jades that you can see in the flowers. They actually have some jade colors in there.
And these colors together are truly striking.
It's very rich. Now this kit is called Graceful Batiks, and it's the Big Blooms pattern from the book Quilts in a Jiffy.
Now this is our Wondering Way pattern, and this is actually one of my favorites at Fabric Cafe. I love the way this piecing comes together and creates this path diagonally on the quilt. To me, it's just so intriguing. This is made with 2 very simple blocks. It's going to go together so fast, like all of our 3-yard quilts. And we have some gorgeous fabric. Let's check it out. Now we have our Wondering Way pattern on the table, our quilt here, and this is definitely one of my favorites. The reason why it's one of my favorites is because we've taken 2 very simple blocks, put them together to create something so interesting. So I've got my cropping tool here, and I want to show you how easy these are because they're just 2 blocks, and they're 2 very simple blocks. So the first block is here. Now, it's basically kind of a 4 patch that has some extra stuff going on here. So we have 2 solid blocks here, And then we have this one, which is very simple to make. Strip piece with a strip on the side after this is cut. Very easy. Then we do it again, and it's right here. Put those together like you would a 4-patch, and we've got it.
It's so fun.
Easy. It's so
It
fun.
is.
We just love doing this. It's so fun. We have the best jobs in the world. You know that,
We
Mom?
do.
We really, really do.
Somebody asked me the other day what I was doing. I said, I'm coloring quilts.
We do that. Okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes we math them too. But okay, now this block is super simple too. And really it's kind of a trick because it's not really put together the way I originally thought. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cut a square, just a little square. Then we're gonna make a strip assembly and cut some little slices off. So we have a unit just like this, and we're gonna sew it next to that square. Then we're gonna take another one of those units, turn it upside down, and sew it on the other side. And so this is a center part of this block. Then, very, very, very simple, we are going to do another strip assembly. We have 3 strips of fabric that we sew together, slice off a piece of it, and we're gonna sew it up here. And then we're gonna take another one of those same ones, reverse it like we like to do, and sew it on the bottom.
One of the things I like about our job as designers is I feel like I'm a magician sometimes.
Oh.
Because I had this idea, and then to make it happen and to figure out that configuration really didn't take that long. And I just was like, oh, I'm so excited.
She just pulled a quilt out of a hat.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Well, this
Yeah.
was a good one. We need to keep that hat around.
Oh, that's a good idea. What do you think?
So I really like the way this goes together. And I think it is so cool how once you alternate these blocks and you put it together, it creates this a really cool pattern traveling across the quilt. Okay, now let's talk about the elephant in the room here, this gorgeous fabric that you're all sitting here looking at going, can we please talk about the fabric? All right, this is gorgeous. And these are some of my favorite colors. It's kind of like a watercolor flower with the greens and the blues and the creams. Gorgeous. This is our focus, and it's going to go in all of these squares here, as well as on the border and the binding. Then our number 2, which is great, because like we always say, you don't want a boring number 2.
That's right.
And here we have our fabric that's kind of a white and a blue that picks up all the blue here. And you can see how beautifully it goes into all of these places and on the border. And then our number 3 for our weight and our pattern that really pops, because this pattern works super well with a highly contrast. And this is so pleasing, but it's still a high contrast because of this navy. And that creates that pattern.
That's very important.
It's just gorgeous and beautiful.
Well, Fran, I love this fabric, and I'm so excited because we are also offering yardage as well as the kits on our website.
Yay.
So check that out.
Yes, I love that, because this would be gorgeous to make some extra pillows or something. Or bigger, you might want to make it bigger, which you could buy 2 kits to do that.
Well, that's true. Or 4.
Or 4.
Because 4 makes a king queen.
That's right, and all those instructions are in the Jiffy book. All right, let's get you the kit info on this. It is called Whisper Floral, and once again, it's our Wondering Way pattern from the Quilts in the Jiffy book.
Now, this pattern is called Ashford Square, and I say this a lot, but I love this pattern. It gets so much movement with 2 super simple blocks, and we have this gorgeous fabric in this one that you are going to love. So let's talk about that fabric. We're always saying that any 3 yards will work with any of our patterns. And I have to tell you, these new fabrics have me so excited. They all look so good. So whenever you look at the book, you'll see totally different fabrics, but this is absolutely stunning. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. And this one is called Ashford Square, and we're going to look at this beautiful watercolor floral that is just breathtaking.
It has so many jewel tones in it.
I love that.
It's just striking.
And it's going to be the center of this block. Now, because we have the floral here and here, we're going to use this background color to really cause the floral to kind of come forward.
Oh, yes.
It's a great background. And as you said, it's not boring at all. And these are regular printed cottons. They're not batiks, but they have kind of a batik-y feel to them.
They kind of do. And I love the way this has the pinks and kind of the oranges.
Yes. Just like it has in the flowers here.
Yeah.
That's gorgeous.
So pretty.
Now, for the number 3 fabric, is that not gorgeous?
So pretty.
And that is, as you always say, it's the pop of color. It also kind of frames the quilt. It'll frame a block. And it is a very important element of your quilt. I can see this on a bed. It is gorgeous. And if you buy 3 kits, you can get a book free. So keep that in mind as you're looking at all of these beautiful flat fabrics.
Yes. And as we mentioned before, all the instructions for enlarging it to a twin or a king queen are in the book, which is fantastic. There is an image on
there
the
it is.
screen.
Oh,
I
my
know, of a
gosh.
twin. And so you can see how amazing it is. Well, in a lap size, and then right next to that, there's the twin, and it's striking.
That was a fun magical trick too. So this particular kit is called Eufloria, little play on words there, and it's the Ashford square pattern from Quilts in a Jiffy.
This is Crossroads, and isn't it gorgeous? I just love it in this bold black and white. It's so very striking. But on top of that, the pattern is so great. We have a nice big block here to really show off a beautiful focus print, and then a very simple block alternating it. You put all this together, we've got some great movement and lots of fun. It looks so much harder than it is. Let's check out the fabric. This is so elegant, I think.
It is very dramatic.
What's better than black and white? It's like, a tuxedo.
Oh, that's true.
And it's just so elegant and classic and beautiful. I love how the textures in these 3 fabrics go together to give you your interest. So our number 1 fabric is this wonderful floral on black, and you can see how that the flowers are done in shades of gray and white and the black background. That goes in all of these big squares as well as our border blocks here on the edges. So gorgeous, really lots of area for a beautiful focus fabric.
It almost creates a depth to it, the way they have the black background and those other colors layered on top. That's really cool.
It is really, really pretty. Now, we paired it with a really fun texture, a white with a polka dot, which is in black, which gives that place where your eye is resting. And I love this because we have it here in our alternate block as well as on the border. It looks fantastic. Really, really like it. And of course, it coordinates so well with our focus.
I love polka dots.
I do too. I do too. Now, number 3 is so interesting. It's like a dark charcoal, and it's kind of a gray on gray print. So it's kind of subtle, but it still gives you that texture, which I just love. It just kind of still has some interest, but gives you that nice pop that we were talking about earlier as well. And you can see it's in all of our alternate blocks to just kind of create this little chain and then a nice frame on the border.
And keeping with the Jiffy concept, there's only 2 very simple blocks and then 2 half blocks that are made like half of the bigger block. So it's super simple.
So easy. And I know this is a wonderful pattern. I think it's just a classic, and in the black and white, I think it's super, super striking. All right, let's get you the kit information on this. It is called a floral sketch. The name of the pattern again is Crossroads, and it's from the book Quilts in a Jiffy.
Now this fun quilt I named for something my mother used to say when she was just surprised and elated. She'd go, "Oh, my stars." So I named it from that little phrase that she did, that she said quite frequently. And it is gorgeous fabric. It has 2 simple blocks. It has the kind of an asymmetrical block here that has the little square in the corner. It's made super simple with strip piecing and strips. And then we have the friendship star. So let's put it on the table and talk about this gorgeous fabric. Fran, earlier I mentioned foundation block being a 4-patch that you use over and over again that kind of just connects all the blocks, and it's one that's been around forever. And Friendship Star is another one of those. Even though it's not really a foundation block, It is such a all-time classic favorite.
Yeah.
And I know one time I was playing around in my early days of designing, and I designed the Friendship Star. I had seen this Friendship Star block, but I could not remember the name of it. And I put it on Facebook. And that was when we just had few Facebook people. And I said, somebody tell me the name of this block. And oh my gosh, I had like 800 people tell me the name of the block.
Oh my stars. That's a lot of people.
I was really impressed because we probably only had 60 or 70 Facebook people, but it was fun to get that.
That is fun.
So we're talking about a long time ago. Do you realize we're 23 years old?
Oh, well, thank you. Oh, you mean Fabric Cafe?
Yes, I do mean Fabric Cafe, but we were only 2 when we started it, so we're,
25.
And if you believe that. Okay, let's talk about pretty fabric, okay? All right, is this not gorgeous?
Yes.
This is the #1 fabric, and it's going to go everywhere that you see the print here and here, and I put a little out on the border, and the center of the star.
I like it.
Star
in the center.
of the show.
It almost looks like you came in with a paintbrush and.
Yes, it does, and that is really
So
classy. So this is the #1 fabric, and then the #2 fabric, and I find it interesting because if you look close at the background of the #1 fabric, what appears to be white is really like a real soft light gray.
Oh.
And that gives you that texture that you can see in
right.
there. Isn't that pretty?
It is pretty. It matches perfectly.
It does. And it's going from a stark white that we saw a lot of for some time into more of a soft white.
Yes.
And I like that.
I do too.
So that is the #2. And then the #3, oh my goodness gracious. Oh, my stars again. We love you, Mama. So this is just blends beautifully with that raspberry. Isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah. And I love the dimension that this raspberry has.
Yes.
The lights and the darks in it really give you a lot of interest.
And there's a lot of the reds and oranges and yellows in this, and there are also some underplay of orange and red in that purple. Isn't that gorgeous?
Really, really pretty. Now, I know that we work really hard to put just the right fabrics together for our kits. Now, this one is beautiful. And it's not an obvious choice sometimes because this is a little bit directional. And so having a tool so that you can place your fabrics before you make the quilt is really invaluable. And we have been working with Prequilt, and they have given us a special deal. We have lots of patterns up there. They're called coloring pages, which is the templates of our quilts. And you can go in and drop your own fabric so you can see what it looks like before you make the quilt. Now, they've worked with us and given us a special discount code just for our viewers. The code is Fabric Cafe. You can remember that, right? And whenever you use that code, you will get 20% off an annual basic or market subscription. So it's a really great deal.
And remember I mentioned earlier that I was coloring my quilts. I was actually using a different program, but this will mimic it real nicely.
Yes, it's very nice.
Now, this particular kit is called Raindrops, and this one is from the pattern Oh My Stars, and it's from the book Quilts in a Jiffy.
Now, this is Landslide, and it is definitely a favorite of 3-yard quilts because it is so fast to put together, and it looks so interesting, I think. We have a nice solid block here with a great big half square triangle right here that comes together beautifully. And this quilt has just a little surprise, so I can't wait to share that with you. Let's get it on the table. This, I think, is a go-to pattern for so many of us because it's so fast to make and it's so interesting. And we have some fabulous fabric for you. So I think the colors on this are very, very rich and yummy. I think it's really different and really fun.
And you know what? It has a little bit of a retro vibe.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of that in decorating right now.
Yeah, but it's so pleasing. So
Oh, yeah.
on our focus fabric, we have all of these florals in this jade green and orange, and then in pink, we have some butterflies tucked in there, which is so great. And of course, that's gonna go in our big block here on our quilt. And these, what's simpler than a big block on a quilt to make? Now then our #2 fabric. Now remember whenever I was standing next to the quilt kind of showing it off, I said there was a little special surprise. Well, this fabric has a little special surprise, something very near and dear to my heart. It has little bitty kitties all over it.
So cute.
So cute. So the kitties are in the flower garden. We have our blue-green flowers here with just our little kitties exploring and all over the place. And that is in our alternate half square triangle block here, as well as on the border. You can just see them all tucked in there. I just think that's so cute. It's like a nice little surprise. Oh, kitty. Love it. And then for our number 3 fabric, our pop is this wonderful black with the jade blue-green, as well as the little bit of pink. And that will be in our half square triangle block, as well as on the border and binding. And I really think that number 3 helps the pattern just really work and pop. I mean, I'm trying to get the words for that, because without it, it wouldn't work.
Right.
So it's just the perfect in this beautiful color.
It really sets it off because it needs that. It's almost like the black is almost like the resting spot because these are blended so close together.
That's a really good point. I like that. And it can work that way, just like sometimes the number 2 fabric is the resting spot. In this case, it's the number 3, and it works beautifully because we all know kitties never rest.
Well, actually, they sleep most of the day, but for some reason, they're over there twitching or something. They're having dreams.
My cat only sleeps when I'm not home, so I don't really know that he sleeps.
Oh, okay.
No, that's not true. He's sweet. I love him. Okay, let's give you the kit information on this beautiful fabric kit. It is called Backyard Party, and the pattern is Landslide from the book Quilts in a Jiffy.
This pattern is called Flutter, and I bet you can guess why I named it that. I thought all of these little half-square triangles looked like butterflies, and I love this quilt made in these colors. It almost has a gingham kind of a look and feel to it. So let's put it on the table and talk about this great fabric. And if you're looking at it thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to be a lot of something going on here, I'll just tell you right up front, it is super, super easy. It's going to be a 4-patch right here with 2 half-square triangles kind of kissing, and then it has a side piece like this, and then you just repeat those across with a sashing in the middle that is also strip piece.
So easy.
So yeah, it's super simple. So what we've done here is, in this particular pattern, your focus fabric, the number 1 fabric, really does need to be kind of a dark with a high contrast for your butterflies to show up. So you're going to use this blue, and if you'll look closely, you can see how it has a little line drawing in there. That just gives it a little bit of interest that you might not notice just glancing at it, but it will not trick your eye.
Yeah,
your eye will see it.
It's cool.
That's what all 3 of these fabrics are. They have those line drawings in them, and that makes it really cool and more contemporary as well.
Yes.
Okay, so this is our number 2 fabric, and it's going to be your background so that you can really see the other colors as they pop off the surface of the quilt. And that is going to be everywhere you see that light fabric. And then you have this great jade. This is a color that's really coming into popularity again. I've always loved it. That's going to be your number 3, which will be your sashing and then the binding on the edge.
It's very cool. It's really pretty. And you're right. This fabric makes it like a very contemporary quilt.
Yes, it really does.
Really striking.
And it's really different to have the darkest fabric in the number 1. We do use dark fabrics in our number 1, but it is important if you want to see your butterflies to have it on that light background.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So this is called Summer Flair, the kit, and it is the Flutter pattern from Quilts in a Jiffy.
Now here we have button box, and of course I think Mom named this button box because of this block right here. It kind of looks like a little button, and then it's alternated with a nice big plain block, so you know that makes it fast, and it gives you an opportunity to show off a gorgeous focus fabric. This is going to go together super quick, and isn't this yummy? It is like your very own desert oasis. So let's go check out some fabric. Mom, you mentioned earlier that jade green seems to be the color that's coming back. I think she's right, because I keep seeing this jade green, and it's in so many different variations, and it is so gorgeous.
It is gorgeous.
This is no exception. This is just, oh my goodness, it's so striking. And once again, we have a little bit of a watercolor look, but so many of the watercolor looks I've seen are more in the pastels and jewel tones and things. This one has such grounding to it and earth in it. It's so pretty.
Lots of depth.
Yes. So this is our focus fabric, and you can see all these beautiful blooms and leaves. And that will be in our big square here. That it really stands out. It's really striking in this. And then we've paired it with a wonderful kind of beige sandy color. And once again, it's got that depth to it, a little bit of texture. And that is in our background on our alternate block and a little on the border. And I think it just coordinates so well.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's really beautiful. You know, we say that all the time, but it really is.
Well, we are fabricaholics, I think.
Yes. Now this fabric,
oh my gosh,
is so interesting. It is just so interesting. So I've seen like the models like this. I've seen stripes that are faded in and out, but this one just swirls around all these beautiful colors that still kind of look watercolory, which is so cool.
You know, I'm just going to say I have a bowl that my granddaughter Felicia sent me that's an onyx bowl. It's about this big around, and it has that look to it, and it's gorgeous. But she was traveling overseas, and she found it, and she said, I think Granddonna's going to love this, and she is right. It's a beautiful bowl. So it looks, you said it's grounded, it looks real earthy, like, it's
maybe
beautiful.
It looks like stone. I mean, it's just, it's got all of these great colors in it, and as you can see, it works beautifully with our focus fabric. Gives you so much interest and dimension in the border here, and then we have a little pop in our little button block there, which is just so cute. This is really beautiful, very different and very, very pretty. All right. And as I said at the quilt, this is like your own desert oasis. So that is the name of the quilt, Desert Oasis. And it is the button box pattern from the book Quilts in a Jiffy. We saw so many beautiful quilts today. I would love to hear what your favorites were. Be sure and post it in the comments below.
It's always so much fun to do these book reviews. Is there another book that you would like to have us redo and show you new fabrics? If so, please put it in the comments.
And if you're looking for more fast patterns, be sure to check out the video that pops up next.
It's Donna Robertson
and Fran Morgan.
Happy quilting!